Every year since 2003, whiskey writer and critic Jim Murray releases his self-published annual Whisky Bible, and his top choices for the 2021 edition have just been announced. As usual, media organizations around the world immediately issued out headlines about the best whiskey in the world. This year, the winner is a Canadian whiskey, the Alberta Premium Cask Strength Rye. In the past, his best-in-show choices have raised some eyebrows. For example, when he picked a Japanese whiskey in 2015 and a cheap Canadian rye whiskey in 2016, he managed to create something approaching genuine controversy, at least within the whiskey world. However, he has few defenders within the whiskey fan community. Blogs and whiskey social media groups race each other every year to see who can start bashing the Murray Bible first upon its release, complaining about his scores, making fun of his Murray method, a rigorous 14-step process for tasting whiskey, and accusing him of taking bribes from brands, a long-standing and unfounded claim that Murray strongly denies. Though these specific complaints are often over the top, they are written on the internet after all. The Murray Bible's main problem is the sexist language it employs to describe whiskeys, and many brands are ignoring this problem as they rush to display his score on their bottles and marketing materials. This needs to change, so let's dive into the issues. There's no questioning his credentials. He was one of the first writers who really did substantial work about whiskey when very few others were doing it. The Whisky Bible, which has now been going for 19 years, is impressive in its scope. With over 4,500 entries, Murray claims to add 1,200 new entries a year, editing out old ones or re-reviewing certain entries. It's now sold over 1 million copies. There are famous athletes who, despite their experience and success, come off as a little egocentric and arrogant, and perhaps the same can be said for some whiskey writers. His use of the term, best whiskey in the world, best Scotch, best XX, in every edition of his book annoys some whiskey fans, as the subjective judgment of one person, no matter how qualified he or she is, does not translate to the objective reality of what the best whiskey should be. Others will point to Murray's caricature-like tasting regimen. When going through the months-long process of tasting for his book, he claims to eat only bland, flavorless food, and he apparently does not have any cooked dinners in the house so as not to disrupt his nose. He abstains from sex, because, from kissing you can pick up something, which will throw him off his tasting game. He has said that eating a bad salad once stopped him from tasting whiskey for a month. And of course, there's his use of the word Bible, and the fact that he calls himself a guru. The use of those spiritual terms and monastic approach to tasting makes for an easy target to mock, especially online.